comes again. Is that the most important thing to know about military?
Well, that's just one of the things.
Okay, then that's a knowledge. That's knowledge. That's not a simple question. That's not an enduring understanding. Okay, let's step on. We got to stage 2. Let's step back to stage 3. In stage 3, what we're doing is to make sure that we have got strategically, use that term, strategically placed learning activities that are going to help students to come away with a better understanding. I want them to be engaged of whatever I said in stage 1. So you may give me great activities, but what makes them right? Did I teach what I said I was going to teach? Does it go back up to stage 1? If it doesn't go back and lead me to stage 1, it needs to go. You already know that. You don't have time for any fluff in that classroom. If it doesn't get you right up to that stage 1, it needs to go. Get it out there. Okay? Any other questions? Chris, you got a question? Polly? Polly? Yeah, Polly. Don't say change it to Polly.
I did kind of have one.
Okay.
On the stage 2, it's backing up to that, you got the test. I mean, I did some neat things like we actually held an election and they had a popular election and an electoral college election that came out. So I mean, is there anything wrong with using a matching sheet where they actually
Now,
match?
in back of your paper, it says other assessment, so you would. If you were in my school and I were your principal, and you weren't out preparing those students for that state test by teaching them how to take good multiple choice questions, I'd be a little upset. Okay? Now, let me ask you this on your activity, your performance. Was that really more learning or more showing what they understood?
For like the election?
Yes. And I don't know, I was not there. But think about it. Was it really more of them learning or was it showing their understanding?
That was a learn.
Okay. Then what you may want to do, were they engaged? Did they learn a lot? Then don't throw it away. Move it over and come back with another thing that you'll feel much more confident about what they learned. And it could be as simple as, after they've done the election, you ask them, now what do you think? Who would you vote for or whatever? That leads you back up to what your central question and your understanding is going to be.
Where would you move it to? You said move it over.
Because of the fact that in the assessment, what I'm trying to do is students are showing me what they understand. The reason you give a test is to see the students understand what you taught. And if my performance assessment was actually helping them to come away with a better understanding, it's more of a learning activity than it actually was. Now, I could argue with you on another side of that because sometimes I may put an assessment there for the learning part of it too. But if you felt that the students actually learned better as a result of that, then that's really needs to be part of your learning and assess it overall learning in a different way.
Maybe like a quiz. You could do something small just to check for a little portion.
It could be,
And not like a whole unit
right,
assessment.
and it could be an essay question if they're answering at the end of that, yes, yes. And I can assess learning as I go along. I mean, that is what we're supposed to be doing, right? And because as I do that, I want to figure out what do they really know, what do they not know, what do I need to do tomorrow to make a point about that they know.
And I don't know, I know everybody may not necessarily have the technology, the various tools, but when I do my lesson plan, I do a lot of mine in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. So from the very beginning, even before they start the lesson, I already have the objectives. So they know what objectives they're going to look at as we go through that section. Then there's an essential question that comes up that's related to that objective. So what I'll do, I'll go through maybe, say for instance, section 1, we're talking about the beginnings of the Depression. So by the time we get through with maybe the 5th or 6th slide, there are 2 questions. Students have to stop doing what they're doing. They have to answer those 2 questions. When they get through answering those questions, I continue the section. Then at the close of the section, I come back and give them a SATP or something that's pertinent to the state test. Well, if you have a transponder, if you want to really check the knowledge of the student, those 3 questions, those 4 questions, the students individually, the questions pop up, they select the answer. You know what they have from right there because you can instantly monitor that.
Okay.
So by the time you do those basic questions, when they get down to a level or DOK 3, that's a difficult question, they've already interpreted that information. They probably gave the wrong answers to the first 2 questions. By the time they come down to, getting some of that material, they look back and they go back and reevaluate, and then you'll see that their answers change because you've introduced a thought, an idea of the question, like what we did in the lecture today. He posed a question from the very beginning. Then it gets you to thinking in regards to how and who won the war. So when you get information, you may have a preconceived idea of what the answer is. But when you get the information, then you'll see a change. So that's how I try to assess my students. And I know
That's called formative assessment.
right. I know some teachers don't have transponders. The good thing about it is that's instant feedback. They can
Right.
click the button, you get the instant information right there.
Right, that's performance assessment that would actually be going on the whole time, okay? Okay, what you got?
Okay. Any other big questions, burning questions about the UPD units, individual lessons, anxieties you're still having about how to put this together? Everybody has it down pat? Yes. You're concerned about? Uh-huh.
And my sped teachers.
Mm-hmm.
My sped teachers are very nice and sweet. They're used to me handing in one test,
Right.
let me review with these kids. And then, like I told one about a project, and she was like, oh, my God.
One of the teachers said that.
Oh, my God.
So does anybody see a way of building any differentiation into your UPD unit? Have any of you had experiences where you've, yes ma'am, go ahead.
It's not necessarily the text. I don't know how much it costs her, but I put the same thing out there for them all to give me. Like they had to create a political cartoon expressing their view of the new FDR student. 40% of the kids were right on task and did it. But the lower students, the best they could do is find a cartoon to copy. And that worked fine. And then they learn by looking at the others, and they will get a little better.
Would that work for you? Sure. Any other ways of doing that?
Initially, what I do is I have my students in small groups. I've said this many times. The groups are set up strong, weak. And strong people go through and they actually, as they're doing the lesson, or as the group is doing the lesson, they're talking to the other people and they're explaining to the other students inside the lesson, and that actually helps lift up the slower students and it increases their understanding, because sometimes the communication difference isn't that the students don't understand you, they just don't understand the way that you're saying it. And sometimes someone on their level can say the same thing told a different way, and he clicks with it because they talk a whole different language than what y'all old folks do.
Okay. So a couple, yes sir, had a couple.
As far as performance tasks and artifacts and evidence the students have understood, I guess other than tests, can you go back over some things that are acceptable but maybe non-traditional that would still qualify as acceptable measuring?
So we've heard a couple. We've heard of
they don't get guidance from the lesson,